conduct a test and see if it just matters what topic you're talking about. Because I did a Tyler Robinson show earlier, and there was like 48 people there for most of the time, and then right at the end it got to 100. So let's see if there's more, because I'm doing, I think YouTube works like that. It seems like YouTube really like only notifies even your own viewers if you're doing something that my viewers normally are watching. Like nobody, I don't think any of you guys sit around and watch Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson videos. So when I do a show on that, it's like, well, they're not interested in that. I'm not going to send that over there. So that's what makes doing the preliminary hearing kind of like, it kind of sucks. It's like, I wish you guys were more interested in it. There was hardly anybody here. It was really frustrating. It's crazy. Might not be anybody on this one either. You just never know. You know how YouTube works. They just promote the conspiracy theorists, and the rest of us, the hell with us. I don't think it was the soccer game. Yeah, I think it was just the wrong topic. Wow, man, you're actually interested in that case? Gee, that case sucks. That's just such a boring, What makes that case interesting? The D4 vid, or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, it was a big soccer game, but that doesn't... People in here aren't watching, like people that watch YouTube. I was watching other channels earlier. Maybe they all watched right after that one, but I don't think the soccer game had anything to do with anything. Yeah. Yeah, England versus Mexico. Glad Mexico's out. I never said she was taken to Mexico, Justin Thomas. Where did your brain come up with that? Gray, you believe she was taken to Mexico. I think she's somewhere in the desert buried. I never said anything about her being taken to Mexico. I never once said that. I've asked people, do you think she was taken to Mexico? I think she's, I think the person's probably from Tucson who did this. They live in the area. That's how they knew how to get around and drive in the dark in that area. Well, you didn't ask it you didn't say it as a question. You said, Gray, you didn't say, do you believe? You said, Gray, you believe she was taken to Mexico. And then you're almost like, well, I think she was as if we're debating that. I never said that. What do you mean, why isn't my live showing up? I don't know what that means. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm just telling you. You said it was just a question, but I still don't see it. That's what I was getting at. Let's see. Yeah, I think the person probably lives somewhere, around in the area. That's why they were able to drive around at night in pitch dark. I guess you'd have your lights on, but you'd have to know the area really well to get around. And so that's why sometimes you might think that maybe it was a construction worker. Maybe they were. That's the possibly from Mexico theory, is that, maybe it was somebody over here doing drywall or roofing or something like that from Mexico, and they'd gone there so many times that they knew the area. So when they went back to Mexico, they could come back and do it without being lost in the area. Because no matter how you slice and dice it, you'd have to know this area to feel comfortable moving in and around and about. I don't know what you mean by what isn't your live showing up? I don't know what that means. It's right there. I can see it. Yeah, so I think there's zero doubt that the person knew the area well. That's something they did. I think that I don't know. It's one of those things where, I think they're younger There's other people that think they're older people. I think they're younger. I think the person at the door is like 25, 26, 27. I think the man and the woman, I think there's a man and a woman, and I think they're both between, you know, I mean, I say 25, how about 25 and 32? You know, they're young. They're young people. And I think that's why. I mean, you know what I get tired of people saying? Like, when there's an apology in the letter, people say, perpetrators won't, they would never apologize. Well, that's such bullshit, you know? It's like such a stupid cop-out comment. You know, not allowing you, that way you don't have to think about anything. It's crap to say, oh, they would never apologize. How do you know? How do you know? There's people out there that would do it, especially in an abduction for if it was a murder for hire, hell no. Or a burglary gone wrong, probably hell no there too. You know, I would say if it was a burglary gone wrong, nobody's going to say, write an apology note. If it's a sexual assault, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do it. But the one scenario that somebody might actually feel bad is an abduction for ransom gone wrong. Because they had no intention of killing Nancy Guthrie. And then they might feel bad later when, like, she dies, and then they say, oh, God, you know, and then they see the reaction of the family, and so they use the same sort of, you know, whatever technique it was that they're not being detected to send that second note. It wasn't a ransom note, it was an apology note. Probably Nancy Guthrie. I mean, Liz Barraza, that's been a while now. It's crazy. Yeah. Watch the game on TV and had you. Right. Well, you guys, nobody was participating in the previous show. It was ridiculous. It was like a complete waste of time. Yeah, well, no, they didn't want... What are you talking about, Savage? That doesn't make any sense in this case. If it was a murder for hire, you'd need to have her found dead, and then you'd be able to say, look, she's dead. Somebody killed her. The part about... What's the part you just said? Yeah, you probably have to do a judge would have to declare her dead if she's missing, right? I'm sure that's what it is. And how long would that take? Listen, I know the angle people are trying to sell. They want people to believe that somehow Nancy Guthrie and was killed by a family member who wants inheritance. Okay? I know that's sort of what sells on JLR and all the other crap like that. I don't do that. Okay? There's no indication whatsoever at this point that that's the reality. And you know what? The second ransom note is the one piece that is really the outlier that kind of tells you the direction you should be going. That's what it says. If there's a masked in the law itself, it said, if there's a masked intruder, a struggle, and blood, and then all of a sudden that gets to be declared they're dead. There has to be a masked intruder, though. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we already have more right now than we had earlier. I mean, it's just, that's what's so sad is there's a preliminary hearing in the Tyler Robinson case tomorrow. I was trying to go back over it so everybody's, up to speed, and nobody was there. All right? It's ridiculous. I don't know anything about Liz Barraza. But while you're watching this, you guys, if you have the ability to help support the channel with channel memberships and super chats, whatever the hell it is, my channel donates. I try to, at the end of each month, to donate thousands of dollars, and We're only able to do that when the people watching support the channel and there's ad revenue, etc. Hard to get ad revenue when YouTube doesn't promote your channel at all. They just do the conspiracy nutters. All right. So if you have the ability to, that would be awesome. We just did a show earlier and it just absolutely collapsed right out of the gate. No, the law enforcement never said where the watch was found, but the kidnapper did. They told law enforcement where it was, and that's where it likely was, or they wouldn't have deemed it a ransom. I guess the thing that I just want people to use their brains and have common sense is if we just take a look again at the Phoenix FBI, what they put out here, right? This is how you know your brain's either working or it's not working. So we look at this here, and it said, other ransom demands may potentially be legitimate. And what that really means is they know that they believe that ransom note number 1 and message number 2 are legitimate. They're using the word may so that they have an out in case by some miracle that isn't what happened. It says this case continues to be, meaning they've been investigating it as a kidnapping for ransom since the beginning. Right? Like right when they got that first ransom note, probably the next day or the day after that, they started investigating the case solely as a kidnapping for ransom. Now, the thing is the fact that it says right here a ransom. It says they've been investigating it as a kidnapping for ransom. Well, what does that tell you logically? What it tells you is that they got a ransom note and they believe it. That's why they're investigating it as a kidnapping for ransom. If Nancy Guthrie was missing and there was no ransom note, they would just say Nancy Guthrie was abducted and we don't know where she is. In this case, they call it a kidnapping for ransom because they got a note and they believe it. That's why they put this out. Doesn't that make sense, everybody? Is there an argument that you can make to that? And the answer is no. The answer is no. But yes, you guys, if you could please help support the channel. We got to keep moving here. Yesterday we barely squeaked by. We're trying to keep on trucking here. So we could use some gifted channel memberships if you got them. What would be a good band name? I don't know. Does everybody understand and agree with what I just told you? I just told you that the reason they say it was investigated as a kidnapping for ransom is because they got what they believe to be a credible ransom note. Do you agree with that or not? Yeah. I don't know how somebody could disagree with it. Obviously, people must because they think it's something else. Law enforcement believes, the FBI believes, that this is a kidnapping for ransom case. Is there anything out there that you think that you have more evidence than the FBI to come up with something different? Okay? You don't. So what I wish is people would just stop the bullshit that they're doing, trying to sell some other narrative out there because it's cool. Yeah, it's so cool, man. And go with what the FBI is saying and try to look into the case from that angle. But the reason they don't do that, these YouTubers out there, is because once you do that, you're in a zone. You can't go out and wildly speculate on a daily basis with a new story and a new theory to get everybody riled up. And have these people call in with a coffee in their hands and, oh boy, they've got such great ideas coming up. And it's ridiculous. You know, it's not a game, you guys. You go with the facts that are available, and the FBI just gave us the information. They told Harvey. I believe Harvey's his source on this case is way better than Reuters or like Enton, for example, or somebody else. And the reason is because he's worked with. It'd be sort of similar if KOLD said, hey, we talked to our source in the FBI and they told us it's more likely than not real. I would believe that just like I would believe Harvey, because they have worked with the FBI and the investigators on the case, and they're right there. So when you ask them a question, they're going to give you the answer, and it's going to be, you know, I mean, they don't have to tell you the truth, I guess, but I'm not sure what you're talking about, Justin. Just do the show, man. You're already making strange comments today. I feel the same way about Charlie Kirk conspiracies. Right. But what I'd like to know is, how do we get the support for the channel going today? It's just been, the last show was a catastrophe. This one is starting off exactly the same way. So how do we do it? We need a challenge of some sort. How about you, Jim Lawn? You ready to go tonight? With some jokes, or what's going on? We're just getting killed. Let's see. Crazy how everyone blames people who can't outsmart the FBI. Well, so, you know what it's like? It's like in the Tyler Robinson case, how the parents of Tyler Robinson said, look, we that looks like our kid. Both the father and mother said the same thing. But these super sleuthy YouTubers out there, they say that that's not Tyler Robinson, because they know what Tyler Robinson looks like more than the parents. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like the FBI, when they tell you something like this, that means they have a good idea. They're better at it than you are. Okay? You're never gonna change the same narcissistic asshole you've always been. You seem to be the only person that can realize that way ever comes. Oh God! Shut up, you loser! Get out of here! God, you're the reason. Future ex, whatever, yeah, future ex-husband. Sounds like a perfect name for you, because you're an absolute fool and an idiot who show up places. You make your comments and you destroy the fabric of true crime. You're an idiot. All right? Get out of here. While Americans across the country are gathering with their families to celebrate. Yeah, you know what? This is what, if you're in the true crime world and you're confident in what you're talking about, and you're literally, you know what you're saying, you're a narcissist. That's what the truth is. Like, I'm not going to sit here and listen to bullshit conspiracy theories when there's a truth or a theory that the FBI has out there that's way more likely to be true. So it's not like, oh, what a narcissist. He won't let me say my stupid theory. What a joke. Give me a break. I mean, just listen. If you were somebody out there and you've been watching my channel over the years, you would be shocked how often we are absolutely 100% correct in here. Okay? If you could go back in time and see it. Instead, you go out and watch the same clowns who are never correct, and they say the same shit, and right at the end, they sort of try to dodge and weave into the real channel, the focus of the case, and pretend that that's where they were. It's ridiculous. Okay? It's freaking nuts. I don't understand the mindset. Like, people out there think that true crime is some sort of reality TV goofy show, where you can just, hey, yeah. What I do is I picture these Karens, how they get up in the morning, they quickly run over the computer and wonder what their favorite. Oh, what did JLR? Oh, look what he's saying. Ooh, and they get their little cup of coffee out and they start writing. Ooh, wow, and they have this huge fantasy that pops and flows into their head, and they're just going, "Wow, this is amazing!" Ooh, and they can't wait to call in on one of those shows and just start ruminating about the most ludicrous theory in the world. I hear them. I've actually seen them. I listen to it. It's crazy, completely lunacy, just unbelievably crazy stuff. Wow, somebody actually supported my channel tonight. Absolutely freaking amazing. Thanks, Justin Thomas.
Thanks for everything you do for true crime.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're new here and you're just stopping by, what you'll never hear from these dipshit trolls like Future Husband, the absolute whack job of the world, they won't tell anybody how we donated $300,000 to true crime-related charities. Okay. What a dumbass person that person is. Oh, Benny, well, you've been watching for 3 years. You are a sucker then. God. Hey, you hate my guts, but you keep watching. Get out of here. People are absolute lunatics. Let's see. I think the Nancy Guthrie and Charlie Kirk case has drawn people who don't normally watch true crime. Yeah, I think so too. And what's sad is there's YouTubers out there that prey on that fact, that these people are so ignorant towards true crime that they'll just jump over there. Especially, I would say the Tyler Robinson case is more like that. You got these absolute idiots who, all they do is like conspiratorial political stuff. And then there's this case, so they go, ooh, I know it better than everybody else. And they're just, especially the, ex-military people. I wouldn't say, I'm not including Paramount Tactical. He actually is logical, but it's the other people who think they just have it all figured out. Their brains don't work. That's the truth. All right. All right. Let's see. They don't use their heads either. What are you talking about? Nobody knows what you're saying, Cindy. You're just like, oh, okay. What do you mean, what the hell are you talking about? You? Oh, the nuts are in the Delphi. Yeah, they're all over the place. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't include Nancy Guthrie is just like the tip. It's a true crime case that has the typical crowd of people that are crazy. I mean, that's just what it is. The Tyler Robinson case is sort of a crossover of just absolutely crazy conspiracy theorists like Candace Owens. She's crazy. Candace Owens is one of the dumbest people on the planet, but speaks really well. That's what's scary about her. When this Tyler Robinson's case goes to the preliminary hearing tomorrow, it's going to be absolutely devastating. And then the defense, he's got to plead at some point right after this, and we'll just see how that goes. I think the state is not going to allow a guilty plea with a deal on the backside. It's still going to be the death penalty. So that wouldn't be something that Tyler Robinson would do. He would still want to, then he would just go to trial because there's nothing to lose. Either way, the case has to have the public information needs to be out there to squash the conspiracy theorists for the families of the victims. That's what needs to happen there. Well, I think there'd be more conspiracy. Like if the person shot was a liberal, the liberals would be the conspiracy theorists instead of just saying, "Wow, look at this one nut job." Or, yeah, it'd be the same way the other way around. In this case, though, it's weird. We have the liberals and conservatives that are the conspiratorial nutters. The liberals, I think, they have a campaign to cheer on people like Candace Owens, knowing that it creates a division. Mm-hmm. All right, who's going to do some a challenge tonight in here? See if we can get something going. Anyways, right here it says, Guthrie 84 went missing from, yeah, we know that. Okay, Garagos said the FBI appears to believe the case could ultimately be solved by someone connected to those responsibility. Where does it say that? Following the agency's comments, trial attorney Mark Garagos and criminologist Casey Jordan were asked what it could mean. Garagos said the FBI appears to believe the case could ultimately be solved by someone connected to those responsible. What? Where do you come up with that? You mean, sure, the one's responsible. I mean, what do you mean connected to? They didn't say that. They never mentioned that at all in that statement. The FBI now, I think, has pretty firm control over the investigation. And they believe at this point that if it's going to be solved, it's going to be solved by somebody who I always call a Confederate or somebody who's going to give some information. You told Cuomo? Is that a different? Maybe I haven't seen that one. What is he talking about? I'd like to see, I don't know if that's in there or not. Jordan told News Nation her gut feeling is none of the ransom notes are genuine. Well, if that's your gut feeling, that makes you a moron, okay? According to Jordan, the biggest red flag is the lack of evidence supporting the claims made in the messages. What do you mean, the lack of evidence supporting the claims in the messages? What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? The FBI knows what was said in the first one, and that's why they've deemed it credible, because there's information in there. What are you talking about? Does anybody know what these people mean when they're speaking? It's almost like they go on these shows, they're not challenged with the thing that they say, and it just is allowed to be said. You know, according to Jordan, the biggest red flag is the lack of evidence supporting the claims made in the messages. What? That she died early on? Well, where is she then? There's nothing that disproves anything that they said. The number one reason, and this is probably 90% of it, is that no communications is offered. Any proof of life, proof of death, evidence of anything. Are you stupid? I mean, who is this person? This Jordan person. The number one reason, and this is probably 90% of it, is that no communication is offered. Any proof of life. Right. Well, listen, you guys. Hey, fool. Hey, Jordan. I don't know who the hell you are. Okay? I don't know who the hell you are. I don't give a shit if you're a profiler. You sound like an absolute fool in this one. How in the hell is there going to be... You say there's no proof of life. Right. Because she died early on. She wasn't alive. I even think she was buried prior to them even sending the note off. They sent it off as a Hail Mary with information that only the kidnappers would know. It's in the message, hoping that would be enough. Then, Guthrie, Savannah and her siblings got up and said, hey, we need you to send us some information that proves that she's alive. Okay? They actually asked for that. And then they weren't able to provide it, so that's why there's no proof of life, you idiot. And then there's no proof of death because they buried the body and they don't want to say where it is because that's where evidence can be found. It's just amazing. It's like, how do you not know that that's just the way it would be? God, it's unbelievable. Hey, you guys, when I do my shows, my channel relies on you guys to help support the channel. Today, we are currently at 1/15th of a normal nightly goal, combining this show and the one I did a minute ago. So if you guys have the ability, for some reason today is just some catastrophe day where nobody's supporting my channel. But if you have the ability to, that would be great. We need channel memberships gifted. We need super chats, etc. And that's what allows us to do all the great things that you guys say, oh, wow, great. It was so great that you do. Well, we can't do it without your guys supporting the channel, you know. So there you go. I don't know what the hell's happening and why you guys are, you know, what's going on tonight that's different than some other night. You know, don't have no idea. So can we do something? Let's see. She argued that details, including in the notes, could have been gathered from publicly available information. Well, I know, but you don't even know what was in the note, Jordan. You know, obviously what was in the note was specific information about different things at the crime scene. And they had it, and the FBI has deemed it real. All right? Okay. How come it's dead as a doornail again? We got Simon Henderson with his little goofy laughs. Nobody knows what he's laughing at. He's just sitting there. And the rest of you aren't chatting. It's just dead. Yeah, I don't know, Justin. Nobody knows why it's different. The bottom line is whatever they're mentioning that we know of is stuff they could have learned online. No, or picked up from AI. Shut the hell up, man. Hey, AI. Hey, you know, Nancy, listen. Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home, AI. What do you think might be something that was how her watch might have been found, for example? How would that have been? You know, or it's insane. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. That's all right, Jim. You're always helping out. So without any proof of life or death, there's no reason to believe that they're real. Okay. See, this person, does anybody have any faith in this person talking right here? The bottom line is whatever they're mentioning that we know of is stuff they could have just learned online or picked up from AI. No, it's not. There isn't a soul out there that knew that the watch was on the ground. Did any of you guys know that? Before that just came out recently, that the watch was on the ground? No. None of us knew that. And that's because it wasn't put out there. And now it's out there. And that was in the message. And that's probably one of the main reasons that law enforcement believes that it's a genuine ransom note. The FBI, anyways. But I agree with Mark. It's just kind of hedging their bets. They're hedging? I mean, I've said that they said maybe this or maybe that because they believe that they're real, but they got to say may or more likely than not to, because if you say it is what happened, then you don't have an out if it's not that. And the thing is like even if there's a 1% chance, they're still going to say maybe, etc. I don't know. I don't know where these people come up with this stuff. It's crazy to me. And and another thing, like I just saw a poll today. Only 30% of the people thought the ransom notes may be legitimate. not that it was, do you think the ransom notes are legitimate? It said, do you think the ransom notes may be legitimate? And the answer, 30% said yes. I think if I did the poll in here, it would be over 50%. You know, you always got the conspiracy nutters watching in the background. And I'm not saying it's not possible it's something else, but at this point it seems like everybody should be focused in on what the FBI is saying is likely it, instead of wasting time on something else. I think there might have been broken light in the ransom note. But hey guys, if you could please help support the channel again, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. I mean, I've already, it's just weird that I've asked and we just sit here and we're just still spinning our wheels. It's embarrassing. Yeah, I've already seen the poll. It had three different things. I'm not sure what would make that interesting. Nothing's pointing towards the family. Fake. It's a fact. To make it look like something else when it's all nothing's pointing to the family. Nothing at this point. Nothing's pointed to the family. Yeah. It just means that you got a lot of conspiracy theorists that watch shows. Yeah. See, like in here, are the ransom notes real? 55% said no. I mean, what a bunch of brain dead people. Unbelievable. I mean, just like, wow, it's not real. Because I don't want it to be real because it makes the case more interesting. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Maybe they are talking to, who the hell knows what they're doing. But I actually think it's the trolls that show up. There's only 31 people that even voted, and that's usually all trolls, and they do the opposite of what I say is going to be logical. But you guys, we're only at $5 on this entire show so far. Does that make sense to you? No, it's at 62 now because those are the trolls that type in. It's not worth doing in here. Nah, they don't sound movie-like, Cindy. That just means you're brain dead. You're one of the brain dead trolls. Let's see. Was there a mention of a broken line? Yeah. Yeah, because the FBI, they can't figure that stuff out, Cindy. You understand it better than they do. It's weird, like you should just go sign yourself up for the FBI. Because it says it right here. The FBI has and will continue to offer, it says this case continues to be investigated as a kidnapping for ransom case. That's what they're investigating it as. The kidnapping for ransom makes the most sense out of all the theories that are out there. Now, you could come up with a theory saying it was a hired kidnapping for ransom case. Let's say somebody else out there goes, hey, listen, I need you, if you kidnap them and you get the money, I'll split it with you, right? But here's the scenario. Let's do it. Okay? It's ridiculous. I will match a $5 super chat if someone donates a $5 super chat. I guess Justin's matching one if somebody does one $5 super chat. Nobody even knows what that means, Cindy. Your brain just doesn't. Nobody knows what that means. Um, hey, Simon, you're starting to become sort of troll-like, you know? I'm not sure how long you're going to last around here. Let's see. Is anybody going to match the... we got a challenge by Justin Thomas there. Yeah, Planet Lunatic is... They showed up... not Lunatic. What was that idiot? The... what was her name? I came in the other night. It was... I just... Nobody knows what you're saying, Cindy, when you say, that's what I wanted to be. Got pregnant. What does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have made it into the FBI if that's what you're saying. There's no chance in hell, man. You're yeah, it wouldn't have worked for you. It wouldn't have worked out. Hey, I don't know. I don't have time for you to see something, especially when you keep putting in all your little apostrophes and question marks, and you know, you just have to come back another day when you can be an adult. Yeah, you wouldn't have made it as an FBI agent. No chance in hell. The way you think, you got it kicked out a week in. Hey, look at Jim Lawn. Just matched the Justin Thomas there. Very cool. Yeah, there's no way in hell you would have made it. Why would it hurt your feelings? Why do you care? There's no way. You know how you are. You know you're nuts. I mean, you come up with these crazy. You don't use logic and reason and common sense, and you're almost always proven wrong later. So it's like, you know, it's not bad. At least you're theorizing and stuff. You know, it's great. You know, it's cool and everything, but how many times have we had these discussions, and all of a sudden you go, I guess you're right again, Gray. Oh, I guess you were. And the thing is, I don't know 100% in this case, right? Like, it's hard to say, oh, it's 100%. I think FBI believes that the, hey, thanks, Jim Lawn, and there you go, Thomas, you got your match there. Justin Thomas, thank you.
Challenge met.
And thanks, Jim Lawn, for considering me after you wasted all your money on booze. All right. You know, when you say, oh, it's just too much of a movie, to me, there's nothing like it's a movie script. It sounds like the first ransom note was exactly like a ransom note is supposed to be. Except that Nancy Guthrie didn't survive. She died shortly after, they said. And don't you think it's also interesting, Cindy, that the second one was only sent to KOLD. They didn't want it to be a big story. They thought maybe they would just tell Savannah. And isn't that interesting? Because that's kind of how it was. We only had a slight, like, okay, a second ransom thing was given. We didn't know what it was about. And then she came forward and said, we understand now. You know, that one, the one that I said means that they just heard that Nancy wasn't alive. You don't see them very often because they don't happen very often. But they do. But when they do happen, here's one right here. What do you mean? How many cases have you seen with a ransom note? Yeah, they're not very common. But this is a perfect case for kidnapping for ransom. An 84-year-old vulnerable mother of a woman that's worth $40 million. You know? You know, and we had the nut job theory for a while, you know, the nut job. And actually, most of the time, it's been the nut job theory where this is somebody that just wanted to see the reaction and communicate with law enforcement and do all, you know, just make it a big deal. And they were just excited to see it, even though they knew that they were just going to kill Nancy. But the problem is that second note is... it's a game changer, really. We already all knew about the first one. The second note really changes things a lot. We also know that it says we in both of them, and we found out recently that the first one was addressed directly to Savannah. So it all just makes sense. It makes more sense that way. The second note doesn't make any sense in any scenario other than a kidnapping for ransom gone wrong where the person felt bad of what they did. And then you get the idiots out there that say, criminals never feel bad. They would never. And it's like, God, are you that like myopic? You know, like just think about it for a minute. If you kidnapped somebody, especially somebody older like that, and maybe let's say one of the perpetrators was a female, they might be like, you know, we're just trying to get the money here. You know, we're not trying to hurt you or anything. Calm down, calm down. We're not trying to hurt you. And then they die. You might feel bad, but they use the same technique to conceal themselves when they wrote the second one as they did in the first one. Law enforcement still doesn't know who these people are. All right, do you get it? I just don't really understand. Like, look at right here. 62%. That means how many people have voted? It's mostly all trolls, though. Let's see. Yeah, I'd say there's only 66 people out of 163. So that means only like about 40 people say no, they're not real. And those are people that are like either trolls or committed people, you know. What do you mean in these kinds of cases? Okay, I'm going to get rid of you, Simon. See you later, buddy. You're just, maybe come back another day, huh? Let's see. Are you guys still here? Hello? Cindy typed in, how many cases have you seen with ransom note? About, I don't know, seems like 4 minutes ago. And there's been 3 comments since then. So if you guys aren't going to comment, I'm just going to end the show. I don't want to do another show where I'm just staring at the screen and nobody's saying anything. Right. Right. Do you think the FBI would have been investigating this case as a kidnapping for ransom the whole time if they didn't have really good reason to believe that the first ransom note was real? Does anybody believe that? And so if you don't believe that, then we agree. And then how can the hell could you think the case isn't more likely than not a ransom? That is a ransom gone wrong. It's just so obvious. You know? I mean, don't you see how this worked? Reuters got a hold of, I mean, who knows if it was all intentional just so that there would have to be this put out. That like the people Reuters talked to, they were going, yeah, they're not real, they're not real. But they might not even have been really involved in the case. Harvey's source is involved in the case, and they said they're more likely than not real to him, which is stronger than maybe real, right? So the truth is, they really, really believe that they're real. That's the truth. That's the reality. They really believe that they're real, and that's why. And they, I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but the fact that they say this case continues to be investigated as a kidnapping for ransom case, that means that they believe the first note they got is a ransom note. Therefore, they can call this case a kidnapping for ransom. Let's say there were no notes sent by anybody. Would law enforcement call this case a kidnapping for ransom case? Let's say there was 0 notes, like Nancy got abducted and we hadn't heard a word from a soul. Do you think they still would have put, we're investigating this as a kidnapping for ransom? Would they put that? And if they would, why? What would make them go, oh, it's a kidnapping for ransom when it's just purely somebody missing and they've been abducted? Yeah, there's experts out there. They're so dumb. Yeah, it does happen though. That's why there's a thing called abduction for ransom or kidnapping for ransom. It does exist. And again, I'm not saying it's 100% going to be it, but it's very likely it, right? I mean, like I'd say 90% or more that is what they believe it is, and if they believe that, then that's probably what it is. And Cindy, I know you're not a troll. I'm just goofing around with you. That's just our relationship. She's like this sister that's annoying in the background. That I just go, oh, Jesus, here we go again. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they haven't been able to track the IP address, isn't it? It's kind of concerning. But here's what I think. The KOLD had a anonymous tip. That's where it came in, an anonymous tip like email or something. So I think it gets rid of that by nature. And then I bet you they used a VPN even to get to that thing. So they probably felt really secure in the way they were communicating. Hell, you just go to a library or something and send it in. That would be sort of an interesting thing. It's like, where did the email originate from? If they could ever do that, I bet it wasn't from their phone or their house. They probably went to a place where, maybe a library, and then sort of had a, stupid, just created an account while sitting there and, called it some random crap at gmail.com and then sent it in. Because then it's like all you could do, if you were able to trace the origin, it would go back to a library somewhere. And then you'd have to have surveillance footage on the actual computer itself. But they don't seem to be able to even crack whatever it is, how they communicated. I mean, I would think Harvey's and KOLD were different, the way that they received their mail, but how come both of them have not been able to be tracked? Don't you find that interesting? So it almost seems like the reason they're not being tracked is not the internal workings of KOLD or TMZ, but how they originally sent it in to begin with. And don't you think? Because it seems like it'd be like, what are the odds that TMZ and KOLD have the same system, that have the same sort of encryption internally for something? It almost seems like that they did, whatever they did was before it even got there. All right, guys, I'm gonna try it again on here. Combining this show and the one before, we're still only at 1/10 of a nightly goal. So if you guys have the ability to help support the channel with memberships and super chats, whatever the hell it is, that would be great. My channel survives on the support given by the people watching. Unfortunately, tonight people are just staring at the screen, not sure what the deal is. I guess I have to sell conspiracy theories. And by the way, see, the trolls come in and they create an atmosphere. That's the problem. Every single night, same thing over and over again. So who's going to do a challenge out there? Hey, thank you. Rach 44.99. Getting irritated with people still pointing the finger at. I know, it's like, how come the family's still. I understand having a thought, like maybe they paid somebody to do an abduction for ransom, and make it seem like it went wrong, and they're paying them so that eventually they, I mean, it's just, I could see somebody doing that, but look at law enforcement cleared them, and then you see Savannah with their arms around them and stuff. Naturally, it wasn't like, so she would have been, aware because of the FBI. They would have told her, or the investigators, that, hey, we're really looking into your brother-in-law, and it just it isn't the case. Doesn't seem like it anyways. So it's weird to like attach all of your, everything that you think into that. You're gonna sit there and go, oh no, man, this is what it is. This is what it is. When we have what they think it is, I always wonder. I mean, I know that it seems like our society right now is so anti-law enforcement. They hate the cops, they hate the FBI, they hate this and this, as if they're all just piles of crap, and they're never accurate. I always find them to be incredibly accurate, and sometimes there are mistakes made. That is true, but we don't see that here. I haven't seen anything yet on this one. Now, it could turn out later that, they screwed up, But why not give them the benefit of the doubt and say, wow, look at this. They've been investigating this, continue, they said, to investigate it, meaning that I think that means that they likely have been investigating this case as a kidnapping for ransom since February, I would say 3rd or 4th. Even before the message, remember when they did the press conference, I think on the 5th? I think that was the last one that they did with the FBI guy. And then Brian Enton asked about, hey, how do you know that, the light, they could have seen it on the news. And they go, oh, well, we're still looking into that. But they also didn't say what the rest of the stuff on the note was. Okay. And so the other stuff on there was the watch was on the ground, apparently. If this is a fantasy offender, do you think Savannah's voice surgery and communicating by written messages in January inspired? Why would that? Why would voice surgery inspire somebody? I don't get it, man. I don't know why that would inspire anybody. Savannah isn't Nancy. Do you think Savannah's voice surgery, vulnerable, voiceless, and communicating by written? I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I sort of see what you're trying to say. Like, okay, Savannah was vulnerable, so all of a sudden, well, that's because you don't want to do it verbally, because you might give away where you're at these days. I don't know if the messaging, I don't know. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, Google it. Savannah looks almost like proof of life. What does that mean, man? Savannah looks like almost like proof of life pics. What does that have to do with Savannah? You just said. So what do you mean Savannah looks almost like proof of life pics? I don't understand what that means. People just think they're so, edgy with their comments. Just type English straight. Like a full paragraph that means something. Yeah, it's just so wild. No, let's see. Is it possible to subpoena the Bitcoin address well, they got the crypto account, and as soon as somebody takes something, you can start tracking it to the bank it's deposited in. Yeah. All right, who's going to do a challenge in here tonight? There are too many odd theories out there. Not hearing from the police or FBI. I know what it is. Wild Bill Wassman isn't here to keep the ball rolling and everybody just goes, yeah, forget it, forget it, forget it. Yeah, man, that's disappointing. Why can't there be a different Wild Bill Wassman on a night? It would most likely have been solved by now. Yeah, if the family was involved, sure. Yeah, it seems like it. Could be, but for those of you who hadn't seen it, we were copied by another channel about a week or two after we came up with this, but don't worry about that. See these little pink cameras there? Those are places where I can see cameras on the main roads around, all the pink ones. I think this area over here has been ruled out. Because I remember when that one car was driving by right here, that surveillance shot, and FBI immediately ruled it out. That's because of where it was. They know. I think that they know that the car went this direction, west, over here. And so all of this you can kind of wipe off of there. And then from over here, there's a camera there, there, and all the way around. Thanks, Whaley Awesome. That was Whaley Awesome of you. And how about this, though? For those of you who are here right now, look how interesting this is. So one night, see this other red line that goes around like this? That's an area that I've always had marked as, sort of like an area of main streets going around. I think I would probably bring it down to there. I don't know. This is just a line. These follow the road over here. So what I did was, from the house right here, I said, okay, what are the most likely places he could get out easily in the darkness at night and memorize it? So you go like this. So there's the house. You come out, go this direction, and you would come out right over there. And so I have a red pin there because that doesn't seem very easy to go there, take a right, then a left, and then a right before, you might forget and go up to there. Okay, do that. But then I have this one here. You're at the house right here. You go turn right, and you go, or out of the driveway, you turn right, go straight down, and then the first T you get there, you turn right, and then boom, you're right out on the main street there. And so that one I put a blue pin at because that one seems very easy, simple to do. Then, if you went out the other direction, turn left, you go to here, take a left, go straight down, and then when it gets to where you could either turn right or left, you turn left again, and then boom, right here. Very easy to remember that one as well. Then there was a whole bunch of other ones. See, like all these other roads come out. Man, that's like a zero, red. And then all of these, that's a red one. And then this one was red, but this one, I have a blue pin. And because from the house here, you could have came out, you take that first left, and then instead of that left that I was telling you about, you turn right there, and then a quick left and a right, and then boom, now you're on a main sort of a little, kind of this road area here, this North Via Estrada. Take a right, and then it drive all the way down it, and then boom, you're right there. And what's interesting about that one is that's exactly the route that Annie drew when she put that map out. Because I think law enforcement was asking her, hey, showing her like this area here. So went like this right there, and then her route then has going up like that, and then down, and then over here, and then up. And notice how it avoids all the cameras. There's a camera there, there's a camera there, there's a camera up here. And so this route, though, turns, misses the camera, misses that camera, goes up there, comes across, and then misses this camera, and she sort of ends it right there, but misses that camera too. Don't you find that interesting? All right, you guys, we're still only at about 1/8, if that, of the nightly goal. So if you guys have the ability to help support the channel, that would be awesome. And we're just absolutely getting killed today for no reason. All right. So don't you think that's pretty interesting? That you have that whole outline of cameras. You're right there, and somehow they evaded all the main cameras when they got out of there. Because law enforcement could easily say, okay, let's see, at 2:45, between 2:30 and 2:50, any of these cameras that are surrounding, if they pick up a car, let's track them backwards. And then see if we can get one of those to go back into the neighborhood. And, when you look from above here, these homes are all right next to each other. It looks like it's really dense. But amazingly, every single home has a feeling of its own sort of seclusion. So when you go down to the ground here and you're driving around on Street View, I mean, look at that. That one I think had a camera up there. That's one I saw them pulling off. But all these, there's no way in hell a camera up there is going to film and be able to identify a car down here, nor could Nancy's from right there. There's no chance in hell driving by. You'd have to drive into their driveway to do that. And then up there, you can't see that house. You can't see this one, wouldn't get you. So it's just the worst case scenario for surveillance cameras. Well, I just think it's just obvious out there. They might know where all the cameras are on the main streets, but they wouldn't have to know where the ones on the houses are, because these are just, almost every house is impossible. Look at from here, you go, oh, okay, that might have one. Nope. See, what the deal is on these homes is, for example, I don't know if that's probably part of the same house here, but this is going to have cameras back here filming. Probably, I bet you there's a camera over there. There's a camera over here filming this driveway. And then they have and maybe there's a camera over here filming right there. But there's nothing on the streets over here. I guess it's possible, like if there's a camera filming down here, you might make out the wheels, but why would a car even go up there? It's a dead end. So it's a nightmare. Yeah, they're all set back. A lot of people don't realize this, though. When we have all those surveillance cameras in neighborhoods, you see a camera and it picks up a car and they use it. You see it in law enforcement. Or somebody's walking by a camera and we go, oh, okay, there they are, and because they're walking on a street. Well, it's just luck that the camera films that. Nobody puts a surveillance camera out to film the road. You're filming like your property, and it just so happens that the street is in the background, and that's what law enforcement uses. And in this case, that doesn't exist. Like, none of these are filming that. They're all filming different places. Look at even Nancy's over here. You got two cameras in the back. One of them is right there that's filming this direction. Then there's another camera right there that's filming this way. But all these trees block the road. And then there's one inside there that would film a car that's right there. But these trees block the car when it comes by. So there you go. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I think this is like I think it's almost like a retirement community, but there are some young people there. But look at that. A lot of houses, but horrendous. I think you can go anywhere. I mean, even maybe on one of these side. Let's just try over here just for the hell of it, and see what this looks like. Yeah, I mean, isn't that weird? So that one, even that one looked wide open, but once you get there, it's not good, you know, because the driveways are all they're filming and they're set back a little bit. See, look at that. Always trees right in the right spot. I don't think that those look like lights, and there's no reason you'd have 4 cameras there. Yeah, see, like elderly people. Yeah, I mean, also they probably did the same thing with the roads that I did, where you're not going to look for surveillance footage over here. There's no reason. I mean, I would say I would put a bulletin out everywhere and say, hey, if you see anybody driving around at this time on these dates, can you get a hold of us? But it's not likely that a car from here would somehow drive up like this and over there and then down there and then up and go around over here. They're probably going to try to get out of there as fast as possible and try to make it to sort of a main street and then make it to a highway and get out. Hey, thanks for the coffee out there, mystery coffee giver. All right, thanks. Man, I could sure use your guys' support, you guys. If you guys think I do a good job on YouTube putting the pieces together, I would appreciate it. I don't know why there's some nights that it's so difficult, but any amount works. If you got and the reason I do this is because at the end of the month we give away thousands of dollars, and it's just we've been really struggling the last couple months. I've still given 6,000 over the last 2 months, but it's been very hard, and I have to spend too much of the show trying to get people to support the channel when you just should. Not like, oh, I got to sit here and just keep asking. We all know what we do over here. So if you could please help support the channel, I would appreciate it. Instead of having me have to ask 1,700 times. $2 works. $1 works. $5 works. $10 works. We've given $300,000 out since January of 2020. And the fact that I have to sit here and ask and do this on these different shows is really disappointing to me. Very frustrating. You guys will all go out to JLRs of the world. The people just coming up with conspiracy after conspiracy. And it looks like a freaking slot machine. So how about supporting my channel tonight? That would be great. Thank you. Jesus. Let's see. Yeah. Can you tell from your map which... you guys should put these in super chats. That's what they're for. That way you can at least support the channel at the same time. Can you tell from your map which would have been the fastest route from Nancy's home? I don't know where the person's from, so I wouldn't know. When you say which would have been the fastest route from Nancy's home. To where? To where? See that? Not a soul heard what I said. Crazy. It's just like... Jesus. I'm not watching. Yeah. I'm just saying any of these guys, It's crazy. Alright, so any chance you could help support the channel, you guys? Asking again. Gotta get things moving along. We've got 2 gifted memberships and $10 in super chats. Somebody has to take the place of Wild Bill Wassman tonight. Hey, thanks, Babs22. See? Even 2's better than 0, you know? Figure out where they were going. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what when you say to the main highway. Oh, from her house to the main. Well, I mean, that's what I was showing you earlier. Like, I don't know if you call this a main highway, but it's a main street. So I would say that would be the closest, right there. I would say if you went like, let's see. So the route that I would think would be the closest would be like this. Except it would have been on camera. That's the problem. See, this person knew the area, and I don't know how they got out of there. So there's a camera right there. That distance is 1.2 miles right there. Probably, 2 minute drive maybe to get to that East Skyline Drive there. Only problem is, when you get to here, there's a camera, and I think law enforcement would have been on it. See, right there. That's a camera. And I think there's one on all of these, every one of these. Yeah, right there. See, there's one up there filming that direction. Then there should be one at this. Yeah, there's right up there. I can see it. And so there's 4 cameras at this intersection. So that car did not go here. That's why we did this thing that we did. Yeah, Justin said, let's get Gray 10 more donations. I don't know, man. I've asked so many times on here. This is what people don't like. They don't like that I ask. But the thing is, if I don't ask, there's no chance. Okay, because look at this. Look at it tonight. It's crazy. I'm still going to keep... I'm sitting here covering the case. We need a challenge in here is what we need. But yeah, I mean, so what we did that one night was go around and say, here's where the cameras are, and then how would a car get out of here without being spotted on one of these main cameras that are out there? And see, that's what was interesting about doing this. And so what it kind of tells you is that the person knows the area. And they know how to get around. When you live somewhere and you're driving around, you just been there a lot and you can drive around and nobody, it's just really simple because you've been there. Like in your own neighborhood, for example, you can cut through and know how to avoid the main streets. You can, cut across and do this and that. I think that's what the knowledge this person had. They knew how to move around, and then you ask, well, then they're from there, then why'd they pick Nancy, right? I mean, were they somebody? I mean, one of the theories that we were talking about earlier was that construction right here was going on in this house like a year before. They may have just sort of, after working there for 6 months or so, realized that, oh man, that's Savannah Guthrie's mom, and then that led to a plan later, some other date. And maybe that person does live in Mexico, and they come over as a migrant worker or something. And then, but I mean, how do they get back in? The borders right now are really difficult to get in like that with a car, specifically. So I don't know. I don't think that's what it is. Hey, thank you, CSG. Well, you guys follow the lead. We got one from Babs, and we got one from CS She or C. I don't know how to say that. Hey, look at that! Marty came in here, and he said, he'd do $50 in coffee if you guys do 5 gifted memberships. So that's basically 3-to-1 on your end. Thanks, Marty. As in Marty's Bar and Grill. All right, so who's going to do it? We need $25 in $5 super chats or 5 gifted memberships, and then he'll gift $50 worth, but in coffees. Yeah, and yeah, that's something I always tell everybody. See, everybody says that this guy at the front door is dumb. He's like this inexperienced, like he didn't know what he was doing. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. You know? Like, just look out. Does this guy look nervous to you at all? Does he look like a nervous person? Is anybody going to help match Marty's challenge, you guys? Any of you? And we can all type in look at 100 times, but how about we match it? Yeah, typing in look it doesn't help match it. You know what I mean? Yeah, this guy is not nervous. See, you know what he was doing? See, he goes over to the light here and he's thinking, let me see if I can take this thing off. And he probably thought, you know what, I might rip these gloves. I'm just throwing out an example. So he thought, I wonder if there's just something laying around over here. Look how casual he knows, you know, like she's asleep, she's not waking up. And then he goes over there and he picks up a vine. Now, something that a lot of people don't really point out is if you watch it from back here, watch what he's doing. He curves it. See how he curved it into a loop right there? And then the video after that's missing. All right, so we got Michelle H. We need 4 more of those, you guys. That'd be fantastic. And then it cuts right to where the weed, or what do you call it? The weed is already on the actual camera itself over here. So he's trying to put it behind it. And look at right there, he's bending it again. See that? That's what he's doing. And he makes the little loop. And he puts it behind the back of the camera, coming up here, and then he probably yanks it off with that, leaving no DNA of any kind, and just, he did it. Ah, Jesus, you guys. We have a challenge up there by Marty. If you guys do the 5 gifted memberships, he will match with 10. Okay, and that's a good way to help support the channel. You know, we just need 1. It's like the price of a couple Snickers bars. We need 4 gifted memberships. That's it. And then look, you can see that that's the plant right there, broken underneath there after he used it. And look at that. Oh, it's gone. Because see how he did it? Look right there. There's part of the weed. He laid it behind it and then pulled it off. Hey, look at that. Haley. There you go. Jeez. There we go. Somebody helped out. And Toy Airy. Thank you. Thank you, Haley and Toy Airy. Man, you guys should have seen the previous show. This one hasn't been way better until just now. But man, the previous one, I was trying to do a recap of Tyler Robinson for people for the preliminary hearing tomorrow, and man, it was like a ghost town in there. Unbelievable. So it makes me nervous to even cover it tomorrow. But anyways, look at that. See, it proves that they put it behind there and then pulled it. I remember when we first covered the case, remember how we thought that they were just trying to place the plant over it, but then that became logically ridiculous. Like you wouldn't even know if it covered the plant, right? Like you wouldn't know if it covered the camera by just placing it there. You would have no idea. You'd have to be able to see what was on it. Thank you, Marty. Very cool. Thank you. What did somebody say? That you could see what was on the camera. It was like a... What was that? Oh, yeah, he knew what you could see. Well, he didn't. He just knew that the camera was placed where it's obvious that if a car was parked down there... Let me throw out some of these pictures. A lot of you guys haven't seen some of these. Yeah, so I have these pictures that I made using AI, you know. These are shitty. I mean, this one is. Like, this is like when... Pretend that that's Nancy. She obviously isn't that young. But, like, they pull up, walk her into the house. And then this would be like when this person's, that guy with the balaclava is taking Nancy out. Maybe she coughed, something like that. And I guess, it's possible that somebody else that drove see it down there, a car is parked there. That's how I have it. So that's why this camera was removed, because there's a car. I think it's probably right there, though, not way over there. And then here's one I made in the backyard. Like, here's the balaclava guy. The camera's right up here. And that probably got activated. And then here's where he, that side gate over there. You see that? It's pretty interesting, right? And then, let's see, what's this one? Oh, yeah, he's right over there, about to go in the door that's over there. I forgot I made these. And that's like her being moved down, further down towards the car. I mean, it probably looks something like that. It could be, too. I mean, people suggest that maybe she was the second person, maybe helped carry her down somehow. And then this is what I have where, like inside the room, I think the order's like that. So it goes like this, and then this one. Like, oh, wait, what's going on? And then boom, that one. I mean, think how creepy that would be, right? Think how creepy that would be. And this is what her room looked like, by the way. So I took the picture of her room with the window on the left and the everything like this, and then AI just sort of filled in. I mean, that's not Nancy. She doesn't look like that. I mean, kind of, But it's kind of neat how it's able to put it there so you sort of can visualize maybe how it went, right? So she's sleeping, and then right when this happens, like, hey, what's going on? That's probably when her pacemaker went nuts. So they know the exact time that happened. They know exactly when that happened. Like, they probably have a readout that says, at 2:15, her pacemaker went nuts. I think it might be a little bit later than that. Hey, thanks, Toy Airy. Why are you going to be hangry tomorrow? Yeah, and then maybe, like, if there was a second person, that's about where I would think the car was, closer to here. And then maybe this is a female. I'm starting to lean towards a male-female combination. And my thoughts are, it doesn't mean, this is pure speculation based on like how the notes are written. That one of them is a female and the other is a male, and and I think that explains note number 2. And they were like, I don't know. You know how there's people out there, like, let's say they were dating. You have a guy and a girl, and they're 25, 26. They're really smart, kind of tech savvy. They're like, hey, we could pull this off, man. We can get really rich really quick, and they do it. But, they're not evil monster types. They're just sort of like, hey, we can do this. And so they do it. And it makes them an evil monster because they did it. But, I mean, they're not psychopaths, you know. So when she dies, they actually were like, holy shit, you know, what do we do? Hey, let's try to get that ransom. We'll just send in one note, you know, and then it's written, hello, Nancy. Kind of sounds like a female, right? So they send in the one note, hoping, and they put in the note only things that the abductor would know. Where the watch was. They thought that, you know, only people would know about where the light that was broken was, and other items. There's other things mentioned too that we're not aware of yet. So all those things together, you know, they thought, oh, okay, this might work. But it didn't. You know why? Because the next day, or 2 days later, it was the day after they sent TMZ their first ransom note. But the next day, on the 4th, is when Savannah and the brother and sister said, Savannah said, hey, we need proof. And that's when it was done. That's it. Their attempt is over at this point. Because now they have no way to prove proof of life. I think it's very possible that Nancy died at like 4, you know, let's say 4 or 5 in the morning. They drove to wherever they were going to go, and they weren't sure what to do because now it's getting light out. So they waited until the evening of the 2nd, or no, let's see, the 1st still. I mean, so they waited till the late in the evening on the 1st. So the 1st in the morning is when she was abducted at 2:30. So they wait till like 8 o'clock, or like not 8, but like 11 or 12 o'clock at night on the 1st, or early morning hours on the 2nd, and buried her body somewhere out in the desert because they don't want to have a murder charge now. So I think she was already buried in the desert before the first ransom note was ever written. Isn't that crazy? I think she was in the desert buried before the first ransom note was before it was delivered. So, you know, they may have written a ransom note even beforehand, but I would think if she was alive, they would have provided, and they had her, they could have provided information that only Nancy would know in that first letter, but they weren't able to get that. You see how that kind of works like that? I mean, this is a good way to look at this. Just listen for a second. The first ransom note only has stuff that the abductor would know because that's all they could ever get. Because Nancy died before being able to get something from her that only Nancy and her kids would know. Hey, what did you call her when she was a kid? What was the name of your first dog? What was the, you know, blah, blah, blah. Go through that. They would have put that in that note, but they didn't put it in the note. And I think if they had put that in the note, it's possible something could have been sent to them monetarily, but and they might have been able to get it however they were going to get it, hiding it. You know, like obviously they have something planned where it won't be tracked by the FBI. Yeah, Jim, he's already done. He did a challenge and everything. You don't have to tell him to do it. Well, we're not. We're still now. We're pretty far away from the goal, actually, but we are at. We're only at a third. Well, if we add the other show, we're about a third of the nightly goal. Okay, pop one in, Jeff. He already did one. He's done 2. But yes, I could still need your guys' support, you guys. On the previous show, we got $17. This one, we are at 76, which is a third. Not even a third. It's like a fourth. Okay, well, I'm sorry you can't see him being real. That's your issue. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I guess this is the... This one's kind of interesting because it almost seems like a video. Watch. Isn't that weird? Sort of see it. And then there's another person out there. You know, it's weird. Okay, but here's the thing. How about this? CSCE. I'm not sure how to say your name. How about the FBI believes that they're real? Doesn't that mean that maybe we should believe that they're real? Like you say, you just can't see the notes being real. And yet they believe that they're real. Or at least they're saying that they believe that. I mean, I guess you could argue that they're just saying they believe it's a kidnapping for ransom to throw off the actual person. You could pretend that that's what that note says. But it doesn't appear to be that. You know why? Because that note there, the FBI Phoenix only put that out to contradict or to stop the the completely opposing statements that Reuters and their two sources and the two sources that Harvey's put out. They needed to put that out there to completely debunk that. So they said, hey, we're still looking at it like this. They may be real, but we have been looking at it as a kidnapping for ransom. Okay. But that's 19. You know what that reminds me of, Justin Thomas? You know when people say this, they go, "There's no way," or like that couldn't have happened because the last one was 1975. But what happened in 1975, right? Or when people say, "Man, this must be global warming." The last time there was a hurricane or a tornado in Brooklyn, New York, was 1878, and then I say, was it global warming in 1878? Because there was a tornado there. What's going on? See, that's the argument. They happen. What? You don't believe in global warming, Gray? Well, I know it used to be called global warming until it started getting cold, and now they call it global climate change. I mean, what an out that is, man. So anytime the weather shifts at all, see, global climate change. I mean, come on. Yeah. I'm not saying there isn't, it does feel like it's warmer. It gets warmer than it used to get. But just be honest and call it what you called it before. Don't pretend, oh, now it's global climate change where you can shift on a dime. Oh, it's really cold. See, that's because of, yeah. Right. I'll tell you what we could use, though, is one more challenge in here, you guys. Who's going to do that one? Jim? Yeah. How about you, Jim? Let's get a challenge going. You've got 5 on it, don't you? This case has probably kept securities. Let's see. She got lost buying tacos. Not sure what that means. Yeah, we're really only at like 30, not even 30%. I don't think so. I don't think that's, I don't know. It could be an illegal alien. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, people try to say that the notes were written in AI. Like they use that to come up with the phraseology. I think this is pretty interesting, though. We could take a look at that came in the other night. What's going on? How come my... Oh, it's 7-4. 7-3. Yeah, this one. So somebody said, what would be most likely to use the word... who would most likely use the word perished? Perished, right? And it says, people use perished instead of died to emphasize that a death was violent, sudden, or caused by harsh conditions. So I always think of it as sudden, you know. I don't think of like perished being violent or harsh conditions or anything. News reporters, historians, and legal officials most frequently use this word to provide objective, serious accounts of tragedies. I mean, it's sort of interesting, right? Like it says, journalists and news. Reporters use it to maintain formal distance when reporting on mass casualties or disaster. 5 individuals perished in the warehouse fire. Writers use the word for literary... to me, it's just sort of a watered-down version of saying somebody died. Writers use the word for literary flair or to describe tragic, untimely death. So that's weird, right? Because that's what that seems like. That's what that means. You know, like an untimely death, tragic, you know. Religious or spiritual leaders discuss spiritual consequences of sin or to describe those who die outside of faith. Yeah, we talked about that the other day. Survivalists and rescue professionals discussing harsh environmental factors use the word to describe deaths from exposure, starvation, or dehydration. While died focuses simply on the state of ceasing to live, perished emphasizes the process of suffering or the violent circumstances surrounding the event. I don't know. I don't get that at all. Right, they perished in a plane crash, yeah. Hey, look at Jim said he's got 5 on it. You don't have to do that, Jim, if you don't want to. I was just goofing around. But if you want to, that'd be cool. Yeah, well, I don't think that's weird. When you say weird, what do you mean by that? It's not weird. There's nothing. They just can't. I mean, there's hackers and people that are knowledgeable that know how to do stuff like that without being traced. You would think the FBI would have... well, let's say this. They contacted the anonymous tip lines, which means that it makes it anonymous already. And then let's say they sent it in from... a VPN using a library computer with a generic Gmail. Well, hey, Jim Lawn said he had 5 on it, you guys. So we need 5 gifted memberships. And then that'll get us to Jim Lawn, who'll do 5 all by himself. Although earlier he said he drank so much over the weekend, he... I don't know. Yeah, I've never thought of it. I've never put perish with violence or suffering either. Yeah. I just thought it was like, they perished in that fire, you know. So I guess you would be suffering in the fire. Huh. Weird. I don't know. Maybe I just never knew the actual definition of it and what it meant. Never really thought about it, of the full meaning. All right, guys. You see that up there? We got a challenge by Jim Lawn. Can we get the 5 gifted memberships to match that And that would get us to like 35%. That's how bad it's been. Or about, no, it would get us, if with the other show, about 40%. No? Man, this has been probably the hardest night I've ever seen. Just even on challenges, it's so hard to get somebody to go, yeah, let's do this. All right, cool. You know? Yeah, that's your opinion, Lisa. But let's see. Or the dark web. I believe they have. Yeah, maybe like if I knew what like if I had always known the technical reason for perished, I would have thought passed away. But yeah, I don't know. Sort of fits some of the other ones up here. Maintain a formal distance. Is anybody going to join in on Jim's challenge that he put out there? Yeah, I think there's all kinds of things that are out there that you just can't trace. Oh boy, this is brutal. Hey Jim, how about I'll have to rob Peter to pay Paul. How about I'll send 5 in? I can't get the support from the people watching the show tonight for some reason. You want me to do that or? It's brutal. Absolutely brutal. It's like a waste. Forget it. Don't worry about it, Jim. I can't do it myself. It's dumb. Wants to work with cyber. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's try to get to the goal, the challenge in there. Man, it's just so weird. I think they have something on surveillance. I think this house here probably had filmed the light of a vehicle driving by. Maybe they can't make out what kind it is, and that might be why this route was made. And the way that they could do it is you have to have 24/7 cameras filming. No, that's pretty common cybersecurity. It's not like that interesting. Come on, Michelle. But let's say this happened. So the car leaves here, and then this camera right there filmed the car, or sort of the lights of it driving by. Because it was, let's say the camera here, which was filming. I don't know what direction it was filming. It could have been filming that way, or maybe just like right there. And then you can see lights on the driveway light up right at the time it should, which would mean that the car drove this way. So then they have the car going this way, and let's see, they might have another camera over here somewhere that does not show a car. So they know it went this way. And then one of these cameras also picks up light as the car is going by. And then none of these did, so they think it went this way. And then they couldn't find one over here, so they think it went this direction. So that's how you could do it. Just track it down like that. Yeah, I don't know, Justin. People just aren't in a, like, let's support Gray mood. You know, it's crazy. We have Jim Lawn with a 5 for 5er, and not one soul has helped support that one. What's the deal with that? So I think that they could have. You almost need to have 24/7 cameras though, because sometimes if you're using motion sensors and you just have a little light show up, it's not enough to set it off, and I think that's another problem. So I think they kind of know the direction the car went, and I think it is interesting if they have the car and they feel like, okay, went there, and then all of a sudden we have another vehicle that we spot coming around over here doing something. Then you'd have to ask yourself, well, if they're from Mexico, then wouldn't they have just turned left there on 77 and headed down? Instead, they kind of kept going over here. So where are they heading? That must mean they live somewhere else, you know? All right, you guys, I'll try it again. We have Jim Lawn over there who's trying to... I don't know, man, if tomorrow's a new day or not. I'm kind of nervous to even do the trial. I feel like it's just going to be a disaster. Yeah, hardly anybody was watching it here, and just seeing the low enthusiasm. So we had Jim Lawn. He said he'll do a 5 for 5er, and not one soul jumped in to match him. Maybe somebody can just match him with 5. $2 a.m. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it was that one neighbor's dog barked. I don't know. Why is that interesting? We already know that there was people moving around at 2:30. Yeah, I'm covering Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing. Yeah. Anyways. I got to get up early, so this is just brutal. Thanks, everybody. Wow. All right, so we had Justin Thomas, Jim Lawn, Justin Thomas, Whaley Awesome, Babs22, CSCHEI, Michelle H, and then Haley with 5. Needed one of those to get Jim Lawn's support there. And then Toy Airy, Thanks, Toy Airy. All right, so anyways, and also thank you to Marty out there. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right, thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow. Oh, 5 for 5er is when Jim Lawn would have donated 5 memberships all by himself. Had 5 of you just donated 1, like you just did. Like if 5 people did what CSCHEI just did, he would have matched all 5 of those, which really helps support the channel. But people just couldn't be bothered. So there you go, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to try to come on here at like 7:30 maybe, something like that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Might just be a one-day event for me if it turns out to be garbage. Yeah, like if we have 50 people watching and there's no support, it's just can't do it. Got to just keep doing Nancy Guthrie. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you later.